I think the direction of skating is great. I think we're doing what we got to do. It seems to be happening in all action sports right now. But as far as like my philosophy on it, uh, I knew at a very early age that I wasn't going to be hard spin, top sole, and down rails like all the time. I knew I didn't have that spin to win in me. So it really forced me to, one, get creative with my trick and spot selection. It also forced me to learn things both ways. And through that, I like kind of came up with this. This is more for filming sections, but I came up with this concept of getting to zero, where like a left-footed trick is like a positive or negative, and then right is the opposite, and then there's neutral tricks like X grind would be neutral, UFO would be neutral, any sort of like Unity or
Unity.
Savannah
Cab driver.
cab driver would be neutral. Yep. Uh, so uh,
Hot dog.
hot dog is neutral. Yep. Hot dog is neutral. Straight air is neutral. Zero spin is neutral. Uh, so when you make a section, you want your number to be as close to zero as possible, and in so you end
Oh, I
up
love that. I love that idea.
Crazy concept right now.
yeah. Broskow is the fucking best at it. Like, I don't know if he does it on purpose. I'd love to ask him, but his champagne section is like as close to zero as possible. Like I've ever seen. Like, there's a like I call them matches. So like, there's a match for pretty much everything. So he
Damn.
shows that he can do both fast slides, both pud slides, uh, alley top sides via tic tac, alley top sides for no reason, both heel rolls, both illusions, both everything. It's amazing. Uh,
Damn, that's so sick. Dude, my last part's probably like a plus 31. But no
yeah,
doubt.
but you're still good. Okay. Here's
No,
my
I'm just, I'm,
question.
I'm just kidding, but like I love this concept. Like that's like a really cool way to go about it. It's like checks and balances for your
Yeah.
own skating, you know?
Yeah,
Did you come
uh,
up with that or did you come up with it with someone else or how did you come up with that?
I came up with the way of kind of quantifying it, but I can't. Me and my good friend Zeke Kabinski really uh, talked through the idea. He's the person that I like filmed most of my early sections with, uh, from like 16, and even recently, like we went up to Vancouver together. Like he's one of my oldest best friends, longtime brother. But we came up with that concept kind of together, and we always would talk through like how to. Trevor Johnson also really helped with this concept for me.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Trevor's from the town just north of where I grew up. So when I started skating with Trevor a lot, uh, he really helped like define like how to like show things. So like just for instance, like even though like if you're gonna do a line, you don't really want to do left foot acid and then left right foot acid. But there's a way to show that you're capable of doing both. So like if you're
Yes.
gonna do left foot acid, like right foot mistrial is a great compliment because like you're on the backslide plate of your right foot with the left foot acid and the left foot sole, and then you go to the right foot mistrial and you're on the left backslide plate and the right sole.
I love that.
Wow.
No, like honestly, like it's I love that you mentioned that because in like the early days when people were just starting to show that they were able to skate switch, they were doing it very blatantly. Like they were doing like right foot acid, left foot acid, like or in the same line, like the same like the mirror image of the tricks or something like that. and
Yeah,
that's still cool. I'm not saying there's anything against it. There's no by the way, there's no rules. Like all
no,
skating is
even just my
sick.
own
All skating is
like
sick. Like hammers are sick. These little nuances are sick. Like it's all. It's. I'm just like pointing out like this idea that you're trying to talk about right now that I think is really cool because in the beginning I think that was like the first initial way you thought you could be able to show that is just like do the exact mirror image of the trick, but now you can do it in like a more like subtle way where you, or like a hidden way like you're talking about where you accentuate that like you said the left foot acid and the right mistrial you accentuate like both of like the backslides and that or the yeah like I really like that style that's cool.
yeah, like the idea is like when you make for me, it also is not a good idea to start doing this because like you go down a fucking rabbit hole. Like there was a point in my skating where like I wouldn't do tricks that I wanted to do because it didn't fit what I needed to like be in my section, you know.
Right.
So that made like I don't know, it kind of got to like an OCD point where I've definitely relaxed on it in recent years, and like my numbers are way higher than they used to be.
Mhm. Uh,
It's fuck. I'm like kind of freezing. I think.
yeah, you're good
Um,
now. I thought we
Yeah,
lost you
good
for a
now.
second.
um, but yeah, it's there's like a lot of things that you can do to just complement other things. Like I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
The freezing screen. So,
Yeah, the screen
took
fucked me
you
up.
took
froze
you
your froze your mind.
yeah. No, but it's true. Like there's like all those other like you said you were getting like OCD about it, and it seems like it could be like that when you're the plus one plus two and but that's really cool to like try to make a complete section like fill those voids like from way back in the day there was an element section where famously Joe Navron called Randy in his section and said, Randy, too many front farbs, you have too many
Mhm.
front farbs because I think back in the day we weren't necessarily too conscious about the we were just trying to get like cool tricks and not thinking about how the section would look complete or the presentation of the section as a whole. You're just like trying to do like rad tricks or like whenever like the spot shows up, but it's cool to like have that premeditated attitude with skating and just think about like how to fully present yourself as a complete skater and like and all that and that seems something that's new about the new stage of skating now and like people are just more conscious about everything and it's cool. Like I was actually talking with Bellino recently and we were just like talking about just for me, like the trick is great, but just like people who roll up and land properly, we were just talking about like land gods. We were like, yo, Walt Austin he just land, he's a land like
Mhm.
show me a clip where he doesn't land proper. And the same for like Will and I think John
Yeah,
Blino's in that boat and all those things matter. Like the trick definitely matters too, but like it's all the things before and after and to have a complete section that way. I just love the premeditatedness of that kind of thing because it becomes artistic at that point.
yeah, kind of artistic. It act like I picture it as like calculated almost. It's kind of funny to think about it artistically. Like, I guess like when I come up with new concepts and I want to show them, that's where it gets a little bit more on the artistic side. But like that number system is definitely like straight. Like I'm doing like almost like a matching game, you know? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like more of a game than like
that's
filming
sick
a
to make a game
section.
out of it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds more of. It's more strategic than like actually like putting together a section. You're just like testing your skills more than like presenting yourself with like,
yeah.
here, this
Like
is my skating now, you know?
this is my skating now. Like this is like I want to show you that I could basically do whatever I want.
Hmm.
That's like the goal is like if I put my mind to a specific trick, regardless of foot, spin, whatever, like I could probably figure it out. Like that's my goal in like the way that I'm showing it. Like the big thing that I like is say like I do like quarter like out porn with my right foot. Like I'm gonna do left foot ollie porn. like to show that like I can do both of those. I don't know how to really describe it, but yeah, that's
That makes perfect sense. It's just a more interesting way of the classic, like we said before, soul lefty, then soul righty afterwards, or back to back clips of the same, mirrored image pretty much of your tricks. But that is a good like modern day version of looking at the switch and natural, because we talked about this in the Hayden Ball episode in 109 about learning switch tricks and the importance of it and how it affects and changes your skating. And I feel like we're just tagging along on it now with this in a completely different concept. It's awesome.
Aiden's fucking amazing at it,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of
The
times
best.
yeah, he's so good at it.
So good.
Like which way is his natural royale? You don't fucking know. And the person, like, when you start doing that, it makes it so that your skating is super interesting because when you wind up to do whatever it is, sometimes you can tell what the person is going to do. But if you have such a wide trick selection, it makes it so that every trick you're guessing. Like, uh, especially with lines, you want that next trick, at least personally. I want to see the next trick and be like, oh, I didn't think they were going to do that, but it fucking worked perfectly.
I love that. That's
Yeah, like, if you do, like, top sole, like, I really don't want to see you do right foot. Like, if you do right foot top sole, I really don't want to see right foot true top sole.
Mhm.
Like, you kind of, like, if you see that little bit of a jerk with their upper body in one direction, you're like, okay, they're going to do that. It's really not that interesting.
Yeah, well, I think that's like cool too. Like um, if it's like predictable, like I wouldn't say it's bad, but it's way cooler when it's something you're not expecting. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, where did that come from?
Mhm.
Because skating could be that too.
Pepper, that's
Skate,
spice.
yeah, skating could be like that like oh like it could be all these things. So it could be a display of so many things. But I like that when something surprises you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
it.
Gets
it
you to like verbalize something. Generally, it's when it's surprising, and that's what I think is important in sections.
the element of surprise.
A little bit, yeah. Feel
Mhm.
sneaky about it. Like, do something that like they don't expect you to do.
Do you
Yeah,
think that's more?
right.
Do you think it's more like knowing the skater themselves, or just in general having that element of surprise? Because I feel like if you know, like I skated with Billy fucking a billion times, and like he skated with me a billion times, and like when you see someone skating up to an obstacle, you're like, oh, he's
I'm
gonna do a
predictable.
fish brain. Yeah, like what they're gonna do 20 feet from before they jump, and like you just know how they skate and everything. Do you? Are you talking about like that kind of element of surprise, like that surprise, that intersection, or is it just something completely different than that?
It's a little bit different than that because like how do I describe it? I am kind of a nerd, so I know everybody's skating pretty fucking well. Like I know people switching naturals, and like I want to see people really pushing themselves, like going out of their comfort zones, rather than like doing what's most difficult or quote unquote the most difficult. Like I know that for some people, doing certain tricks on a curve is more difficult than soling a giant kink rail. And for you to be pushing yourself is way more interesting to me.
Yeah,
If
no,
that
totally. Um,
like the way that I was
yeah,
talking
like
earlier, like the fact that you were doing left foot royales on that little down bar and like left foot sole, like got me so stoked up because I know that is not easy for you and it's not something that you
yeah,
do often. And to see that is heartwarming. Like
dude,
that's
hell
what
yeah,
I
thank you.
want to see.
No,
Yeah.
Don't don't
I
play this man in
appreciate
switch
that, and
skate.
like I think on our not to shout out our own podcast, but on episode 110, Yandel said like the same thing. He was talking about
He's
like
great at it.
he gets more stoked seeing more than someone doing like a hard trick, seeing someone like do something that's out of their comfort zone or like push themselves to a point, and it's like And that's, you got to remind yourself, because even if like you, especially if you build yourself up to be like a skater in this community, or a certain like someone that people know, and you don't want to like put yourself in a vulnerable place where you don't look like where you should be. That's where the fun is. Like the fun is in the place where you're pushing yourself and challenging yourself, and like it's cool to do like your classics and all that stuff, but it's cool to like always be a student. That's like the thing about skating. You could always be that, and you could always try those things. So it's cool.
I think that's a huge reason why we lost a lot of people at a point, because like during the mid 2000s, the skating got to such a level where you felt like you had to skate something gnarly, and then that limits the types of maneuvers you're allowed to do on it. Uh, and then when you're limited to what you're doing, it becomes boring. Like you don't realize that's what is actually boring about it, is the fact that you're limiting like what you're allowed to do. So when you like, I've always been super inspired by like Colin and Sean. Like
Yeah.
they've brought the size down and really expanded like what it is to be a rollerblader. Like Colin, every new edit that they come out with has a different concept. So like a couple of Zephyrs ago, he was doing all the heel rolls with the grinds, and now it's a lot of that like swing move and like the step downs to bring back up.
Yeah.
That's just decomposing things that you already know how to do and really expanding on it. And that's what's most interesting to me. And I think that if you know how to do one trick, like say you know how to royale with your right foot, you can soyale. And then from there, you're able to like move in way different directions. So then you can move to alley porn, and then now you have like the other Savannah, because like your natural is your right foot with the left foot. Now that's your regular Savannah. Like
Mm.
it's just using what you know already and expanding on it. And I think that's really why skating is at the point that it's at, because we took that time to like get away from the bigger stuff and dumb it down and like
Yeah.
really decompose the things. And like there's
Agree.
not like, I love doing fucked up things. Like that's, it gets your heart racing and it's fun. Like when
Hmm.
you complete something that's like legitimately scary,
Yeah.
there's nothing better.
Hmm.
The high is incredible.
Yeah.
But to do it solely like the way that it was happening during the early, like the mid 2000s, is not, it's not sustainable, and it
Yeah.
becomes boring. And for the people that are coming back now that think that what's happening in skating is like too small or whatever, you just need to like one, expand your vocabulary, like your eye vocabulary, and understand that like why you weren't here those years. Like whatever your reason is for leaving is because you were bored. Like
Mm.
if you weren't bored, you would have kept doing it.